Alright guys, today we're going to do our game preview of the Bengals versus Falcons on Friday Night Football. Starting off right away, we got some news and updates. Head coach Arthur Smith confirms that the starters will be playing against the Bengals on Friday. This does of course mean that we are going to see our guys versus their number ones. Now, I'm not trying to trash the Packers in any way, but the Falcons have a tad bit better number ones than the Green Bay Packers did. Now, the Green Bay Packers did not play players like Aaron Jones. I do not believe they played Christian Watson, and I do not think they played Romeo Doubs. So, we're going to see Drake London in this game. We're going to see Kyle Pitts in this game. We're going to see Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, probably Tyler Agnew, and Cordell Patterson. Now, we don't know how long, or if any time, our starter is going to be out there. At the end of the day, we really have no idea on what coach is going to do. Based on what we understood, from last week's press conference, when they asked him about, the starters playing, he said that this week one game, we're not going to have any starters, but that might change in the future. So it's very possible that we do see some starters out there this upcoming Friday, or potentially nobody. Let's go with the assumption that we at least get one or two starters in this game, even for a series of two. My guess is the Falcons are not going to put their number ones in for more than probably like a series of two anyway. So what does this mean? Well, starting off right away, let's look at their defense, because if they're starting their starters, you already know what that means. We're going to be playing Jesse Bates in our first time since he left us. And it's going to be emotional for that reason. We also play Calais Campbell, the ex-Baltimore Raven player who was a Raven for a good amount of time. And you got to keep in mind that this Falcons defense is actually pretty stacked. They have a really good D tackle. They also have a really good cornerback core and secondary. So this is going to be a true test for wide receivers. Now, of course, depending on who we start, this could be, a lot harder of a test than it might be. For example, we're not going to probably 1000% probably start Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, but we might end up starting Tyler Boyd. We're going to probably do the same thing we did last week, where we played the other 9 guys here. So we're going to see how Charlie Jones, Yoshi, Trenton Irwin, and how these guys can get separation against this honestly really tough secondary, right? So that's going to be quite an interesting call. And again, we're going to see Trevor Siemian and Jake Browning play this game. We could see Trevor Siemian play the first half while Jake Browning plays the second half, kind of switch off of what, they did last week. That's what Coach was saying before. But after the poor performance from Trevor Siemian last week, I don't know if they're going to do that. Now, for offensive line, we're going to have to go against their defensive line. Again, their defensive line, even their second-string non-starters, are still very, very good. Again, like I said, I can't stress enough. This team is such an interesting team because last year, their defense alone could have gotten them to the playoffs and won that division. Their offense was really run-heavy, but their defense was very stacked. So, even their second strings are going to give our offensive line problems. We're probably not going to see Jonah Williams in this game. We'll probably see another game of Jackson Carman and Cody Ford. For the rest of the offensive line, I'm not really expecting to see any of these guys out there. Kappa is still, dealing with his issues right now. Teddy K, you could put him out there, but there's really no reason to at this moment in time. Cordell Volson, I would like to see him out there as he is a younger player and he's really developing. Had a great training camp. I want to see, him in actual game form. And maybe Elena Brown for a series at most, but that's probably that. I think Joe Goodberry posted a really good post yesterday. He said, you forget how much Marvin Lewis actually would play the starters until now you see Coach Taylor, and it's like, yep, no starters out there at all. Like, we're not going to risk anyone out there getting injured. There's just simply no reason. These games do not count, so at the end of the day, if you win them, awesome. If you lose them, whatever. Think of it like this. The Ravens are 25-0 in the preseason since 2015. And guess what? They haven't made the championship since 2012. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about all this. This team has not made the championship, but they win the preseason. We made the championship the last 2 years. We might not win every single game in the preseason, but we win when it counts. So with that being said, though, I think the game plan for this game, right, what I'm really focused on is number one, I want to see us get some pressure on their quarterback, right? Last week, we did not get any sacks on Clifford or on Jordan Love, and the third guy they brought in at the end. I want to see some type of pressure by this defensive line. The offense last week, yeah, it was struggling, let's be honest. But the defensive line was also, too. It wasn't getting after the quarterback. We shut down the run game pretty dang well, which I did love, except for the 80-yard rushing touchdown at the end of the game that, it happens. Other than that, though, our defense line was not getting after the quarterback. We got to make some plays on the quarterback. And, looking at all these, actually, was that the quarter? No. I want to stand corrected there. I think we had a sack force fumble by my man, Raymond Johnson III. I think we did have one sack force fumble. But getting after the quarterback more and more, we want to see that from some of these younger guys, some of these, backup guys. Because you got to keep in mind, some of these guys are going to be rotation. They made the 53-man roster. They're going to be rotational pieces. We need as many great pass rushers / players who are doing that the extra, on the field every single play. From our secondary, I think Nick Scott will play this game. And I think, again, like I said, it could be like one series from Cam Taylor-Britt, one series from Mike Hilton. No Cheeto at all, obviously. But the rest of these guys are going to be playing from last week. I am expecting a lot from this secondary. And even though, yes, it's going to be a tougher matchup this week with, of course, going against Drake London, going against Matt Collins, going against, Kyle Pitts, I think this secondary has proved one thing last week. They can get this job done to a very effective level, and they're a very underrated secondary. And I think there might be also a little bit of like, listen, we're playing Jesse Bates again. Let's show us how good this new secondary is. We don't need him. So there might be a little bit of tension there, a little bit of want to go out and show extraness in there. And maybe that ends up becoming the case. And I would love that because that just means we're going to show how good we are. And honestly, Tyson Anderson might have another really good game because their quarterbacks are Desmond Ridder, and then after Desmond Ridder, it goes Taylor Heineke and Logan Woodside. So we might be able to have another really good game for Tyson Anderson. So I'm really excited about that. Excited to see how he performs. Same thing with Poison Ivy and Jordan Battle, and of course DJ Turner. But it really is about, just locking down this secondary like we did last week. Yes, we gave up some plays last week. Yes, we weren't perfect on defense, but we made a lot of good plays where you look at it and you're like, okay, no, that was very, very well. Like, they executed some plays very, very well. Myles Murphy, I want to see more of him, too. Last week, he did have one tackle for a loss in the backfield, but other than that, wasn't really anything crazy about him. And I really want to see him get after the quarterback this week. For the offensive line, I want better communication. So we looked at a play yesterday where the snap was way too early in the Packers game, and we almost got sacked a couple times, and one time almost in the end zone because of that. And then we had a couple other plays where Jackson Kirkland and Jackson Carman got destroyed on the same play. We can't let that happen, okay? This is preseason, right? So at the end of the day, it is what it is when it comes to preseason. But this is where we have to iron out this stuff. You can't snap the ball too early. You can't give up your guy on the play and let someone run past him. You can't get bulldozed on the play. You can't get literally as Jackson Kirkland. And I love Jackson Kirkland. I've been talking about him real great in the channel. On that Packers game, a guy ran right past him. If that's a regular season and that Joe's back there, Joe's gonna end up getting hurt. And we can't let that happen. And I'm not saying Jackson Kirkland's going to be a starter, and neither is Jackson Carman, or probably half of these guys on the backup offensive lineman, right? But at the end of the day, if there's an injury to a starter, these are the guys we're going to go to get, the starting job. So we have to get that communication down. There's no reason why stuff like this should be happening in any game, let alone a preseason game, when we've been training in training camp, we've been working in all this, and now this is where you put it to the professional level, where you get the game speed, and this is where you show what you've been working on. So, stupid stuff like this where, we snapped the ball early, no, that can't happen. And I understand this is not Teddy K out there, this is Trey Hill out there. Max Sharpinger was playing center, or Sharping was playing center last week. I get that, right? But at the end of the day, mistakes like that cost you a season. So we have to be very smart, and I want to see us really piggyback off last week. Week 1 in the preseason, listen, we all make mistakes, right? No one's perfect. It's the beginning of the season. You're going to go out there, you're going to, mess around. Maybe you miss a block, false start, hold, whatever, right? It's a first game. The second game is where you iron out everything that you messed up in the first game, and you say, okay, these are the things we need to work on. These are the things I'm going to fix. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And in the third game, you go, here's the final product. Because you give me the final product before we get to the season. When we get to the season, if that final product isn't final, there's a problem, right? So, again, like I said, a lot of these guys, I know they're backups, and they might never start in the game. You never know what's going to happen during the season. Who would have thought last year we would lose our starting right tackle? We're going to lose our left tackle and our right guard, right? You never know. And the best teams are teams that can adapt to these problems and make the best of them. So, let's go, guys. Who Dey Nation. I'll be live on Friday. I'll be live a little bit earlier on Friday before the game because I want to do a pregame. Somebody told me that's the last time I went live. They're like, oh, you should have done a pregame. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to do a pregame on Friday. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for watching. Who Dey? I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.